Those orchids are positioned incorrectly. I didn't mean to speak. For 15 years, I'd built an empire on calculated silence, on knowing when to observe and when to strike. Yet here I stood in my own ballroom at 11:47 on a Wednesday night, critiquing flower arrangements like some retired housewife with nothing better to do. The man arranging the white blooms startled, nearly dropping the ceramic vase he was holding. When he turned around, I felt something shift in my chest. A sensation so foreign I almost reached for my gun, thinking I'd been poisoned. "I'm so sorry, sir. The symmetry is off, isn't it? I've been staring at these for 3 hours, and I think I've gone cross-eyed." His laugh was nervous but genuine, and his eyes, dark brown, almost black in the dim lighting, held no fear, just exhaustion and something like embarrassment. Most people who encountered me after dark in empty buildings didn't laugh. They didn't meet my gaze. They certainly didn't admit weakness. "The left arrangement is 2 inches lower than the right. Your eye isn't deceiving you. Your assistant's measurements were." I moved closer, gesturing to the bases. "See? Different pedestals." He crouched down, comparing them, then let out a breath that might have been a laugh or a sob. Of course they are. Thank you, Mr. Moretti, Dante Moretti. I own this hotel." Oh, God. He straightened quickly, wiping his hands on his jeans. "Mr. Moretti, I'm Elias Chen. I'm handling the floral design for tomorrow's gala. There was a mix-up with the original delivery. The orchids arrived bruised, so I'm personally replacing everything. I promise this won't affect the event. Everything will be perfect by morning." I should have nodded and left. I had 3 calls to make, 2 accounts to review, and a meeting with my captains at 1 a.m. about the Castellano family's movements in the harbor district. Instead, I found myself saying, "You do this often? Work alone in strange buildings at midnight?" Something flickered across his face. "Not usually, no. But this week is complicated. I needed the distraction, honestly. Kept me from overthinking." Overthinking what? The question was too personal, too interested. He noticed. I saw the slight confusion in his expression, but he answered anyway. "I'm getting married in 3 days. Saturday afternoon. And everyone keeps telling me it's normal to be nervous. But I don't think what I'm feeling is normal nervousness." I should have congratulated him, should have made some polite comment about wedding jitters and walked away. Instead, I heard myself ask, "What does it feel like?" Elias set down the vase and looked at me directly, really looked at me. I wasn't used to being seen. I'd spent decades cultivating an image that made people look away. But this man studied my face like he was trying to solve a puzzle. It feels like I'm walking towards something I chose a long time ago, and I can't remember why I chose it. Like I'm playing a part in someone else's story. He laughed self-consciously. "I sound insane. I love Rebecca. She's wonderful. We've been together for 4 years. This is just cold feet." "Is it?" "It has to be. What else would it be?" I moved to the other side of the display, picking up one of the white orchids. Phalaenopsis. My mother had loved them before she died. These mean love, beauty, refinement, also strength. Did you know that? I did, actually. It's why I chose them for my own wedding. White for new beginnings, orchids for lasting love. He paused. "Do you study flowers, Mr. Moretti?" "I study things that matter to people I care about. My mother was a botanist before she married my father. She used to say that people choose flowers the way they choose lovers, either by what looks beautiful on the surface or by what the meaning promises them. Which did she choose? Beautiful surface. Wrong meaning. It killed her eventually. The words came out harder than I intended. Elias didn't flinch away from them. Instead, he said quietly, "I'm sorry. That must have been painful to watch." We stood in silence for a moment, the absurdity of the situation settling over me. Here I was, Dante Moretti, feared from New York to Naples, discussing dead mothers and flower symbolism with a stranger in the middle of the night. "I should let you work," I said, but I didn't move. "I should get back to it," he agreed. But he didn't either. "Elias." His name felt strange on my tongue, intimate. "Are you happy?" "What?" "With your life. With your choices. Are you happy?" He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I should be. I have everything I'm supposed to want. A good business, good woman, good family. Why wouldn't I be happy?" "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." I pulled out one of my cards, the legitimate one, eaten from Moretti Holdings, and set it on the table beside the orchids. "If you ever need flowers for your business, call my office. I have connections with importers. Consider it thanks for fixing my gala on short notice." He picked up the card, confusion clear on his face. "That's generous, but you don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I want to." I started toward the exit, then stopped. "Elias, that feeling you described about walking towards someone else's story, that's not cold feet. That's your instinct telling you something's wrong. Whether you listen to it or not is up to you." I left before he could respond, before I could say something even more reckless. But as I sat in my car, watching him through the ballroom windows as he worked, I knew with absolute certainty that I'd just met the man who was going to either save me or destroy me. Possibly both. The next day, I did something I hadn't done in a decade. I canceled my afternoon meetings and went to a flower shop. Chen's garden sat on a corner in a neighborhood that was gentrifying rapidly, probably because I'd approved 3 development projects in the area last year. The shop was small, but meticulously maintained, with window displays that somehow made carnations look exotic. A bell chimed as I entered. Elias emerged from the back room, arms full of white roses, and stopped dead when he saw me. "Mr. Moretti." "Dante, please." "Dante." He set down the roses carefully. "This is unexpected. Are you here for the gala? Everything's already been delivered and set up." "I had my team there at 6 this morning to—" "I'm not here about the gala. I'm here to order flowers." "Oh, of course. What's the occasion?" I hadn't thought this through. I'd gotten in my car with some vague idea of seeing him again, and now I was standing in his shop like an idiot with no excuse. "My sister's birthday, next month. I want something arranged in advance." It was a lie. Isabella's birthday was in January. Elias didn't know that. "That's very thoughtful. What's her style? Traditional, modern, minimalist?" "She likes things that make a statement. Bold colors. Nothing subtle." He smiled, and I realized I'd orchestrated this entire encounter just to see that smile again. "I can work with that. If you have a few minutes, I can show you some options." I had a meeting with my accountants in 20 minutes. I have time. For the next half hour, Elias walked me through various arrangements, talking about color theory and seasonal availability with genuine passion. I learned that he'd started the business 5 years ago, after leaving a corporate job, that his parents had wanted him to be a doctor, that he believed flowers could communicate things words couldn't. I learned that when he was excited about something, he gestured wildly with his hands, that he bit his lower lip when he was concentrating, that he had a small scar above his left eyebrow from a childhood accident involving a tree and a dare. I learned that I was in serious trouble. So, what do you think? He'd created 3 different sample arrangements on the counter. "Any of these speak to you?" They were all beautiful. I had no idea which one Isabella would actually like. I pointed to the middle one, all crimson and gold. This one. Excellent choice. The amaryllis represents pride and determination. Very fitting for a Moretti, I'd imagine. There was something teasing in his tone, like he was testing whether I could take a joke. You've researched my family. After last night, I got curious. You're not just any hotel owner, are you? Moretti Holdings, Moretti Imports, Moretti Real Estate. You're practically royalty in this city. Royalty is one word for it. What's another word? Complicated. He laughed. Fair enough. We all have our complications. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his expression shifted, something between fondness and obligation. That's Rebecca. She wants to know if I've confirmed the rehearsal dinner details. He typed a quick response. 2 more days and this wedding craziness will be over. Are you looking forward to it? I'm looking forward to the marriage. The wedding itself is mostly for our families. And the marriage? What are you looking forward to about that? He considered the question seriously. Stability, I think. Partnership. Knowing someone has your back. Rebecca's my best friend. We make sense together. Best friends make good companions, not always good spouses. Speaking from experience? Observation. I've never been married. Never been in love? The question was casual, but his eyes were sharp, interested. Not until recently. I shouldn't have said it. The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. Elias's fingers stilled on his phone. Recently, he repeated slowly. That's good. Everyone deserves that. Even people like me. What kind of person are you, Dante? The kind your mother probably warned you about. My mother warned me about a lot of things. I didn't listen to most of them. We stood there, the counter between us, the silence stretching like a wire being pulled taut. I could feel the moment balancing on a knife's edge. I could walk away, should walk away. Let this man marry his best friend and live his uncomplicated life. Instead, I said, have dinner with me. What? Tonight, dinner. There's a restaurant I own downtown, private room. We can discuss the arrangement for my sister in detail. We just discussed it in detail. Then we'll discuss something else. Dante, I'm getting married on Saturday. I know. So why are you asking me to dinner? Because I think you know why. And I think that terrifies you. And I think you're going to do it anyway. His breath caught. For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then, so quietly, I almost didn't hear it. 7 o'clock? I'll send a car. I left before he could change his mind, before I could. As I walked back to my car, my phone rang. Luca, my second in command. Boss, the Castellanos are moving product through the South Docks. We need to respond. Handle it quietly. No violence unless absolutely necessary. I'm transitioning us out of that business anyway. Since when? Since about 36 hours ago, when I met a man who made me want to be someone worth being loved by. Since now, set up a meeting with our legal distributors. We're going legitimate. Dante, are you feeling okay? Better than I have in years, actually. I'll be at the office in an hour. I hung up and sat in my car, staring at the flower shop. Through the window, I could see Elias on his phone, pacing, probably calling his fiancée, probably questioning his sanity. Welcome to the club, I thought. I was losing my mind. That was the only explanation. Reasonable people didn't cancel dinner with their fiancé 2 days before their wedding to have dinner with a man they'd met 12 hours ago. Reasonable people didn't feel their heart race when a stranger's business card appeared on their workbench. Reasonable people definitely didn't spend 20 minutes choosing an outfit for what was supposed to be a business dinner. Yet here I was, standing in front of my closet in my underwear, comparing button-down shirts like my life depended on it. "It's just dinner," I told my reflection. "To discuss flowers for his sister, completely professional." My reflection looked unconvinced. My phone rang. Rebecca's smiling face filled the screen. Guilt crashed over me as I answered. "Hey, beautiful." "Hey yourself, are you sitting down?" "Should I be?" "My mom just called. She wants to add 17 more people to the reception." I sat down. 17? Cousins from Portland, who simply must attend. I told her no, but you know my mother. She sighed. "Can you call the venue and see if we can squeeze in another table? I know it's last minute, but I'll handle it, don't worry. You're the best. This is why I'm marrying you." "Well, one of many reasons." She paused. "Are you okay? You sound weird." "Just tired. Busy day at the shop." "Don't work too hard. You need your energy for the rehearsal dinner tomorrow. And for the wedding night," she lowered her voice playfully, "I bought something special to wear." The guilt intensified. "I'm sure you'll look beautiful." "I love you, Elias." "I love you too." I hung up and stared at the phone in my hand. I did love Rebecca. She was kind, intelligent, supportive. She laughed at my terrible jokes and didn't mind that I sometimes woke up at 3 a.m. to sketch flower arrangements. She was everything I should want. So why did the thought of marrying her feel like stepping into a cage? And why couldn't I stop thinking about dark eyes and dangerous smiles and the way Dante Moretti said my name like it meant something? The car arrived at 6:45. Not a taxi or an Uber. An actual town car, with a driver in a suit who opened the door and called me Sir. This was insane. I should cancel. I should call Rebecca and confess that some strange part of me was attracted to a man I barely knew, and we should probably postpone the wedding until I sorted out whatever identity crisis I was having. Instead, I got in the car. The restaurant was in a part of downtown I rarely visited, the part where buildings had doormen and valet parking cost more than my weekly grocery budget. The driver escorted me inside, where a host was waiting. "Mr. Chen, Mr. Moretti is expecting you. Right this way." We wound through the main dining room, past tables of well-dressed people eating food that probably cost more per plate than my rent. At the back, the host opened a door to a private room. Dante stood as I entered. He'd changed from this afternoon, now wearing dark slacks and a charcoal shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked dangerous and beautiful and completely out of my league. "Elias, thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me. This place is impressive. It's ostentatious, but the food is excellent and we won't be interrupted." He gestured to a chair. "Please." A waiter appeared immediately, pouring wine without asking, setting down appetizers I hadn't ordered. Dante dismissed him with a slight nod. "I took the liberty of pre-ordering. I hope that's all right. You're not vegetarian or allergic to anything?" "No, this is fine. This is all very fine. Unexpectedly fine." I was babbling. I picked up my wine glass to give my hand something to do. "So, your sister, her birthday arrangement." "Forget the arrangement. I don't have a sister." I nearly choked on my wine. "What?" "I have a sister, but her birthday isn't for months." That was an excuse to see you again. He leaned back in his chair, studying me. "I'm going to be honest with you, Elias, because I don't think either of us has time for games. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since last night. Every thought I've had for the past 24 hours has somehow circled back to you. And I don't know what to do with that. Because I am not a man who gets confused about what I want. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. Dante, I'm getting married in 2 days. I know. To a woman I love. I know that too. So what are you doing? What is this? He poured himself wine, his movements deliberate and controlled. I'm 34 years old. I've built an empire from blood and shadows. I've done things that would horrify you. I've never believed in love, never wanted it, never thought I was capable of it. Then you dropped a vase in my ballroom and smiled at me like I was just another person. And something in me recognized something in you. I don't know what to call it. I don't know what it means. But I know that if I let you walk down that aisle without saying this, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Say what exactly? That I'm falling in love with you. That I think you feel something too, even if you don't want to. That you're about to make a decision that will define the rest of your life. And you deserve to make it with all the information. All the information, I repeated numbly. You mean the information that some mafia boss I just met thinks he's falling in love with me? I never said I was in the mafia. You didn't have to. I looked you up. Remember? The Moretti family isn't exactly subtle. Fair point. He took a sip of wine. Does it scare you? It should. I should be terrified. I should be running out of this restaurant and calling Rebecca and getting as far away from you as possible. I met his eyes. But I'm not. And that scares me more than anything. Why? Because I've never questioned who I was until I met you. I've always known exactly what I wanted. Stable life, good partner, maybe kids someday. Flower shop that doesn't stress me out too much. Simple. Safe. And then you show up and look at me like you can see things I didn't know were there. And suddenly simple feels like settling. Safe feels like suffocating. Elias, I'm not gay, Dante. I've never been attracted to men. I've barely thought about it. And now I'm sitting across from you. And my hands are shaking because I want to know what it would feel like if you touched me. And I don't understand anything anymore. The silence that followed was deafening. Dante set down his glass and leaned forward, his expression intense. Sexuality isn't binary. It's not something you decide intellectually. It's something you feel, and sometimes you don't feel it until the right person appears. Maybe you're not gay. Maybe you're just attracted to me specifically. Or maybe you've been ignoring this part of yourself because it didn't fit the story you'd written for your life. He paused. But here's what I know for certain. Attraction this strong doesn't lie. Chemistry like this doesn't come from nowhere. And the fact that you're here, having this conversation instead of running away, tells me everything I need to know about what you're feeling. What am I feeling? The same thing I am. Terror and possibility, and the sense that everything just shifted. He was right. God help me. He was completely right. I can't do this, I whispered. I have a wedding in 2 days. People are flying in. Rebecca's spent months planning. Her parents, my parents, everyone's expecting this. I can't just blow up my entire life because of some feeling. You can. The question is whether you will. Dante stood, walked around the table, and crouched beside my chair so we were eye level. He didn't touch me, but I felt the warmth of him, the pull. Elias, I'm not going to pressure you. I'm not going to manipulate you. This has to be your choice. But I need you to know something. What? Tonight, you wear white for him. You stand at that altar and promise your life to someone you love like a friend. And maybe that's enough for you. Maybe safe and simple is what will make you happy. But tomorrow, if you choose me instead, you'll wear nothing but honesty. No pretense, no performance, just the truth of who you are and what you want. And I promise you, I will spend every day making sure you never regret that choice. Tears burned my eyes. That's not fair. I know. I don't even know you. Then get to know me. Ask me anything. So I did. For the next 3 hours, we talked. I learned that Dante's father had built the Moretti Empire on violence and fear, but Dante was trying to transition to legitimate business. That his mother had died when he was 12, killed by a rival family. That he'd never finished college because he'd had to take over the organization at 21 when his father had a stroke. I learned that he hated olives but loved olive oil, that he spoke 4 languages, that he'd never been in love before because he'd never met anyone who made him want to be vulnerable. I told him about my childhood in Seattle, about coming out to San Francisco for college and never leaving, about my parents' disappointment that I'd chosen flowers over medicine, about Rebecca and our comfortable relationship, and my growing certainty that comfort wasn't the same as passion. By the time the car dropped me at my apartment, at 11 p.m., I was emotionally exhausted and more confused than ever. I found Rebecca asleep on my couch, a wedding planning binder open on her lap. She looked peaceful, happy, trusting. I covered her with a blanket and went to my bedroom, where I lay awake until dawn, trying to figure out who I was and what I really wanted. The answer, when it came, was terrifying in its clarity. The rehearsal dinner was supposed to start at 6. At 5:47, I was standing in my bathroom, staring at my reflection and trying to remember how to breathe. "You're fine," I told the pale, terrified face looking back at me. "This is just cold feet. Everyone gets cold feet. You love Rebecca. You're going to marry Rebecca. Everything is fine." My reflection didn't believe me any more than I believed myself. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I won't contact you again after this, but I need you to know, whatever you decide tomorrow, I meant every word. You deserve to be happy, Elias, even if that happiness isn't with me. D." My hands shook as I read it, then read it again, then saved the number under a contact name that made my stomach twist. Dante. "Elias, you almost ready?" Rebecca's voice from the living room. "We need to leave in 10 minutes. "Almost," I forced brightness into my tone. "Just fixing my hair." I deleted the text thread, straightened my tie, and walked out to meet my fiancé, wearing a smile that felt like a mask. The rehearsal was a blur. We walked through the ceremony choreography in the small chapel while both sets of parents watched and made suggestions. "Stand here. Wait 3 beats. Don't forget to smile. Kiss her like you mean it." I went through the motions like an actor in a play I hadn't auditioned for. The dinner afterward was worse. Rebecca's father made a toast about young love and new beginnings. My mother cried and said she'd always known we were perfect for each other. Rebecca's maid of honor told embarrassing stories about their college days. Everyone was so happy, so certain this was right. I drank too much wine and smiled until my face hurt. "You okay?" Rebecca whispered during dessert, her hand finding mine under the table. "You seem a million miles away." "Just overwhelmed." "Good overwhelmed," I added quickly at her concerned expression. "This is all really happening." "It really is. Tomorrow I become Mrs. Chen, or you become Mr. Martinez. We still haven't decided on that." She squeezed my hand. "I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you." Guilt crashed over me in waves. This woman loved me, trusted me, had planned a future with me. And here I was, thinking about dark eyes and dangerous promises, and a man who made me question everything I thought I knew about myself. I was a terrible person. At 10 p.m., Rebecca kissed me goodnight. We'd agreed not to see each other until the ceremony for tradition, and left with her bridesmaids for a night of celebration. I should have gone home. Should have slept. Should have prepared for the biggest day of my life. Instead, I found myself in my car, driving to an address I'd looked up but told myself I'd never visit. Dante's building was everything I'd expected. Luxury high-rise, doorman. The kind of place where people paid more for parking spaces than I did for rent. I sat in my car across the street for 20 minutes, arguing with myself. This was insane. I was engaged. Getting married in less than 20 hours. I should not be here. But I couldn't leave without answers to questions I didn't know how to ask. Before I could talk myself out of it, I was in the lobby, giving Dante's name to a doorman who looked unsurprised and directed me to the penthouse elevator. Apparently, I was expected. The elevator opened directly into an apartment that was somehow exactly right. Minimalist, but warm. Expensive, but not showy. With floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. And there, standing by those windows with a glass of whiskey, was Dante. He turned when the elevator opened. Our eyes met. Neither of us spoke for a long moment. "I didn't think you'd come," he said finally. "I didn't either." I stepped out of the elevator. The doors closed behind me with a soft chime. I should be at home, sleeping, preparing. Not here. Yet here you are. Here I am. I crossed the space between us, stopping a few feet away, close enough to see the tension in his shoulders, the careful control in his expression. I need to know if this is real, if what I'm feeling is real, or if I'm just having some kind of pre-wedding panic attack. And how would you determine that? "Kiss me." The words hung in the air. Dante's eyes widened slightly. The first crack in his composure I'd seen. "Elias, please, I need to know. I need to understand what this is before I make a decision that affects the rest of my life. Just kiss me, and then I'll know." He set down his glass with deliberate care. "If I kiss you, there's no going back. You can't unknow what you'll feel." "I can't unknow it anyway. It's all I've thought about for 2 days. I took another step closer. "Please, Dante." He moved so quickly I didn't have time to prepare. One moment we were feet apart. The next his hand was cupping my face, his thumb tracing my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. "You're sure?" "No, but I need to be." He kissed me. The world stopped. I'd kissed Rebecca hundreds of times. Soft kisses, passionate kisses, sleepy morning kisses, and excited greeting kisses. I thought I understood what kissing was supposed to feel like. I understood nothing. Dante kissed me like he was drowning, and I was air. Like he'd been waiting his entire life for this moment and wasn't going to waste a second of it. His other hand slid into my hair, angling my head, deepening the kiss until I couldn't remember my own name. I'd never been kissed by a man before. Never felt the scratch of stubble against my skin, the solid strength of a male body against mine. The way every nerve ending came alive with electric certainty that this was what I'd been missing. When we finally broke apart, I was shaking. Dante rested his forehead against mine, both of us breathing hard. "Well," he said, his voice rough, "do you have your answer?" I did. God help me. I did. "I can't marry her." The words came out broken. "I can't stand at that altar tomorrow and promise forever when I feel like this. When I know what this could be. Elias. But I don't know how to not marry her either. Everyone's expecting it. Her family, my family, all our friends. We've spent thousands of dollars. People have flown across the country. How do I look at Rebecca? Sweet, kind Rebecca, who's never done anything but love me. And tell her I'm calling off our wedding because I kissed a man I met 3 days ago and finally understood what desire feels like. Dante pulled back, his hands gentle on my shoulders. You tell her the truth, that you care about her, but you're not in love with her, that you can't build a marriage on friendship and obligation, that she deserves someone who feels about her the way you feel about me. She'll be devastated. Yes. Everyone will be furious. Yes. My parents will probably disown me. Possibly. I could lose everything. You could. He tilted my chin up, forcing me to meet his eyes. Or you could gain everything. A life lived honestly. A relationship built on passion instead of comfort. And the chance to discover who you really are instead of who everyone expects you to be. He paused. But I won't lie to you, Elias. This won't be easy. My world is complicated and sometimes dangerous. Loving me means accepting that. And coming out, especially in this dramatic fashion, means facing judgment and criticism, and people who won't understand. So why should I do it? Because the alternative is spending the rest of your life wondering what if. Because you'll resent Rebecca eventually, even though none of this is her fault. Because you deserve to be with someone who makes you feel alive, instead of just safe. His thumb brushed across my lower lip. Because when I kiss you, you kiss me back, like you finally come home. He was right about all of it. I need time to think, I whispered. You have until 3 p.m. tomorrow. That's when your ceremony starts, yes? Yes. Then you have 16 hours to decide who you want to be. He stepped back, putting space between us. I'll be at Riverside Gardens tomorrow, the small gazebo in the east corner, the one surrounded by white oak trees. If you don't show up by 4 p.m., I'll know you chose her. I'll disappear from your life. You'll never hear from me again. And if I do show up, then we figure out the rest together. I left without kissing him again, knowing that if I did, I'd never leave. The drive home passed in a haze. I kept touching my lips, feeling the ghost of his kiss, trying to reconcile this new version of myself with the person I'd thought I was. My apartment was dark and quiet. I sat on my couch and pulled out my phone, looking at the photos from tonight's rehearsal dinner. Rebecca laughing, our families smiling, everyone so happy and hopeful. Then I opened my contacts and stared at Dante's name. Somewhere in this city, he was awake too, waiting, hoping I'd choose him, but prepared for me not to. I thought about safe and simple, about the life I'd planned with Rebecca. Suburban house, 2 kids, joint bank accounts, comfortable routine. Then I thought about passion and uncertainty, about Dante's kiss and the way he looked at me like I was something precious, about discovering parts of myself I'd never known existed. Neither choice was wrong, but only one felt right. At 6 a.m., my alarm went off. My wedding day had arrived. I didn't sleep. How could I? Somewhere across the city, Elias was making a decision that would determine both our futures. And I, a man who'd built an empire on certainty and control, could do absolutely nothing but wait. Isabella found me at 7 a.m., standing on my balcony with my 3rd espresso. You look terrible, she announced, letting herself in with the key I'd regretted giving her approximately 700 times. Have you slept at all? No. Is this about the Chen boy? I'd made the mistake of telling her about Elias 2 days ago. She'd been insufferably excited ever since. His wedding is today. I know. I sent flowers. I turned to stare at her. You what? Sent flowers. To the bride. Big arrangement. Very expensive. With a card that says wishing you clarity on your special day. I mean, If she's marrying a gay man who's in love with my brother, she deserves nice flowers as a consolation prize. Isabella. What? I'm being supportive of everyone involved. That's very emotionally mature of me. She perched on my balcony railing, studying me with eyes too sharp for 26. You're really in love with him? It's been 3 days. That's not an answer. I sighed. Yes, I'm really in love with him. Which is insane, because I don't believe in love at first sight or soulmates or any of that romantic nonsense. And yet here you are, not sleeping, not eating, staring at your phone like it might spontaneously ring with news that he's chosen you over his perfectly nice fiancée. She grinned. I love it. You're finally human. I've always been human. You've been a very efficient, very terrifying robot in an expensive suit. This is much better. She sobered. What if he doesn't come? Then he doesn't come. I'll respect his choice and move on. Will you, though? No, I wouldn't. I'd spend the rest of my life knowing I'd found the person who made me want to be better, and I'd let him go. But Isabella didn't need to know that. I'll manage. Dante. She reached out, squeezed my hand. Whatever happens today, I'm proud of you. You took a risk. You were honest about what you wanted. That's brave. Or stupid. Sometimes they're the same thing. She left around 9, making me promise to eat something and call her the moment I knew anything. I showered, dressed, tried to focus on work emails. Failed completely. At 2 p.m., I drove to Riverside Gardens. The ceremony was happening somewhere else. Some chapel across town, but I'd told Elias to meet me here if he chose me. I sat on a bench near the gazebo and waited. 3 p.m. came and went. The ceremony would be starting now. Elias, in his white suit, walking down an aisle, standing across from Rebecca while someone officiated their union. 3:15. They'd be exchanging vows now, promising forever. 3:30. Probably the ring exchange, almost done. 3:45. Definitely over. Husband and wife, married. At 3:50, I stood to leave. It was done. He'd made his choice, and it wasn't me. I'd promised to respect it, and I would, even if it killed me. I was halfway to my car when I heard running footsteps. Wait! I turned. Elias was sprinting across the grass, still in his white wedding suit, hair disheveled, face flushed. He skidded to a stop 10 feet away, breathless. I came, he gasped. I'm here. My heart, which had been in the process of breaking, suddenly reassembled itself. The wedding. I stopped it. He took a step closer. I was standing at the altar, and the officiant asked if anyone objected, and I realized that I objected. I objected to marrying someone I wasn't in love with. I objected to living a lie. I objected to spending the rest of my life safe and comfortable, and slowly dying inside. Elias? So I stopped it. Right there, in front of everyone. I told Rebecca I was sorry, that I cared about her, but I couldn't marry her, because I'd met someone else. Someone who made me understand what I'd been missing. Someone who scared me, and excited me, and made me want to be brave. He was crying now, tears streaming down his face. But he was also smiling. She asked who it was, and I told her. I told everyone. His name is Dante, and I think I'm falling in love with him. My mother fainted. My father turned purple. Rebecca's family started screaming. It was catastrophic and humiliating, and probably the worst moment of my life. He took another step closer, and I've never felt more free. I closed the distance between us, pulling him into my arms. He collapsed against me, shaking with sobs or laughter or both. You chose me, I said against his hair. I chose me. I chose honesty. I chose the possibility of something real. He pulled back to look at me. I chose you. I kissed him there in the gardens, in broad daylight, not caring who saw. This beautiful, brave man had blown up his entire life for the chance to be with me, and I was going to make sure he never regretted it. When we finally broke apart, he asked, "What happens now?" "Now we figure it out together, starting with getting you out of that wedding suit and somewhere safe while the dust settles." "My apartment is probably surrounded by angry family members. You're staying with me." I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling Luca. He'll get your essentials from your place. You don't have to face anyone until you're ready." "Dante, I can't just hide." "Not hiding. Regrouping. There's a difference." I cupped his face. "Elias, you just came out in the most dramatic way possible. You ended a relationship in front of 200 people. You're probably in shock. Let me take care of you while you process this." He sagged against me. "Okay, yeah, that sounds good." The next week was a blur of consequences. My parents weren't speaking to me. Rebecca's father had threatened legal action over wedding expenses, though his lawyer had explained that wasn't actually possible. My phone exploded with messages, some supportive, most horrified, a few openly hostile. Through it all, Dante was steady. He moved me into his guest room, gave me space when I needed it, held me when I broke down crying over the relationships I'd damaged. He had Luca retrieve clothes and necessities from my apartment. He hired a lawyer to handle any financial disputes. He simply took care of everything. "You don't have to do all this," I told him one night, as we sat on his balcony, watching the city lights. "I want to." "Why?" "You barely know me. Maybe I'm a disaster. Maybe this whole thing was a huge mistake." He turned to face me. "Do you think it was a mistake?" "No, but I've destroyed so many things. Rebecca, our families, my reputation, the shop's business. Half my clients canceled this week. Maybe I should have just married her and ignored all of this." "Could you have, honestly?" I thought about it. "No, it would have eaten me alive eventually. But that doesn't make the fallout easier. It will get easier. People will move on. Your real friends will understand. Your family will come around, or they won't. Either way, you'll survive." He took my hand. "And your business will recover. I've already made some calls. Dante, I appreciate it, but I don't want your charity. Not charity, business. You're talented, Elias. Really talented. I connected you with 3 event planners who work with my legitimate holdings. They judge on merit, not gossip. If you're as good as I think you are, you'll earn their repeat business." I stared at him. "Why are you doing all this?" "Because I'm falling in love with you, and people in love help each other." He said it so simply, like it was obvious. "Because you took a massive risk for me, and I'm going to make sure you don't regret it. Because you make me want to be the kind of man who deserves you." My eyes burned. "I don't deserve you." "We'll agree to disagree on that." Over the next few weeks, a new normal emerged. I worked from Dante's apartment, rebuilding my client base. To my shock, business actually improved. Turned out there was a whole community of LGBTQ plus event planners and clients who specifically sought out queer-owned businesses. My dramatic coming out, while mortifying, had inadvertently advertised my identity. Dante introduced me to his world carefully. I met Isabella, who became an instant friend. I met Luca and the other members of Dante's organization, who were transitioning into legitimate business roles. I learned that the Moretti family was more complex than I'd imagined. Yes, there was criminal history, but Dante was genuinely working to change that legacy. I also met his enemies. Not in person, thank God, but I learned about them. The Castellano family, who'd been rivals for decades. Victor Moretti, Dante's uncle, who opposed the transition to legitimate business. The old guard who thought Dante was weak for falling in love. Am I making you vulnerable? I asked one night, after overhearing a tense phone call about the Chen situation. You're making me stronger. They just don't understand that yet. But I worried. In Dante's world, vulnerability was dangerous. 2 months after the non-wedding, when I finally worked up the courage to reach out to Rebecca, we met at a neutral coffee shop. She looked good. Tired, but good. How are you? I asked. Surviving. You? Same. We sat in awkward silence. Finally, she said, I'm not going to pretend I'm not still hurt. And angry. The way you did it was brutal. I know, I'm so sorry. But, she held up a hand, I've had time to think. And honestly, I saw the signs. I just didn't want to acknowledge them. You were never fully present, never really passionate about us. I told myself it was just your personality, that not everyone is demonstrative. But looking back, I was settling too. Rebecca, I deserve someone who's crazy about me, Elias, and you deserve to be crazy about someone. We were good friends playing at being in love because it was easy and expected. She took a sip of coffee. I hope he makes you happy. I really do. Just maybe give me a few more months before I have to see you two together, okay? That's fair. Thank you for understanding. I don't fully understand, but I'm trying. She stood to leave, then paused. For what it's worth. I've never seen you smile the way you did when you talked about him at the altar. Even while you were breaking my heart, you looked free. I can't hate you for choosing that. She left. I sat there crying into my coffee, mourning the friendship we'd probably never fully repair, grateful for her grace. When I got home, and Dante's penthouse had become home, he was in the kitchen cooking. This dangerous mafia boss wore an apron and knew his way around pesto. How did it go? He asked. Painful, necessary, a little bit healing. I wrapped my arms around him from behind. Thank you. For what? For being worth it. He turned in my arms, kissing me softly. You're worth it too. Don't forget that. That night, lying in bed, we'd progressed from guest room to sharing his bed a few weeks ago. I realized something. I love you, I said into the darkness. Dante's arms tightened around me. Say that again. I love you, Dante Moretti. Completely. Terrifyingly. Wouldn't change anything, love you. He pulled me closer, his voice thick with emotion. I love you too. So much it scares me sometimes. Good. We can be scared together. 6 months after the non-wedding, Dante took me to his family's vineyard outside the city. We walked through rows of grapevines in the golden afternoon light. I want to show you something, he said, leading me to a private garden I hadn't seen before. It was filled with white orchids, hundreds of them, arranged in a path that led to a small clearing with a table set for two. Dante, what is this? He turned to face me, and I saw nervousness in his expression for the first time since we'd met. I told you once that people choose flowers the way they choose lovers, by what looks beautiful or by what the meaning promises. I chose you for both. You're beautiful, inside and out, and you promised me everything I never knew I needed. He dropped to one knee. My heart stopped. Elias Chen. I know we've only been together 6 months. I know that's not very long, but I also know that I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to build an empire. and then come home to your flowers and your smile. I want to be worthy of the trust you placed in me when you walked away from your wedding and toward me instead. He pulled out a simple gold band. Will you marry me? I was crying too hard to speak. I nodded frantically. I need words, love. Yes, yes, of course, yes. He slid the ring onto my finger and stood, pulling me into a kiss that tasted like tears and joy and promises. We'll do it differently than you planned with Rebecca, he said. Small ceremony. Just people who really love us. Nothing we don't want, completely honest and completely ours. Perfect, I managed. When? Whenever you're ready. Next month? Next year? Tomorrow if you want. I laughed through my tears. Let's give it a year. Let our families calm down. Let us figure out our normal. Then we'll make it official. Deal. We sat at the table, eating dinner as the sun set over the vineyards, planning a future neither of us had imagined 6 months ago. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. The first communication I'd had from her since the non-wedding. Your father and I would like to meet Dante. Sunday dinner, if you're both available. No promises, but we're trying. I showed it to Dante. He squeezed my hand. Progress, he said. Progress, I agreed. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the safe, simple life I'd once planned. But as I sat there with the man I loved, wearing his ring, planning our unconventional future, I knew with absolute certainty that I'd made the right choice. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose truth over comfort. And sometimes love arrives in the most unexpected package. And sometimes the life you didn't plan is exactly the life you needed. The threat arrived on a Tuesday. We'd been engaged for 3 months, living in domestic bliss that still surprised me every morning. I'd wake up to find Elias sketching flower arrangements at the kitchen table, or humming while making coffee, or simply existing in my space like he'd always belonged there. I'd transitioned 70% of Moretti operations to legitimate business. Some of the old guard grumbled, but profits were up. Legal risks were down, and even the skeptics had to admit the strategy was working. Then Luca brought me the photos. These were delivered to the office this morning, he said, his expression grim. They showed Elias, leaving our building, at his flower shop, and meeting clients, going about his normal life. Each photo had a red X marked over his face. The message was clear. We know where he is, and we can get to him anytime. My blood ran cold. Who sent them? No signature. But the envelope had the Castellano family seal. Marco Castellano. That ambitious bastard had been pushing at our borders for months, testing our new legitimate focus, seeing if we'd gone soft. He's trying to provoke me, I said, studying the photos. He wants me to retaliate with violence so he can justify an all-out war. It's working, isn't it? You want to kill him. Obviously, but I'm not going to. I set down the photos. Double Elias's security. No one gets within 20 feet of him without clearance, and set up a meeting with Castellano. Neutral ground. I'll handle this peacefully. Dante, I'm not risking Elias's safety or our family's future by starting a war. We're better than this now. We have to be. That evening, I told Elias about the threats over dinner. He went pale, setting down his fork. They're targeting me because of you. They're targeting you because they're desperate. The Castellanos are losing ground. Their illegal operations are being squeezed by law enforcement. They need me to react so they can justify escalation to the other families. So what do? We don't do anything. I meet with Marco. I make it clear that threatening you means war with every family I'm allied with. And we increase your security until this is resolved. I don't want to live in a prison, Dante. I don't want you dead. The words came out harsher than I intended. I took his hands. Elias, I knew my world was dangerous when I asked you to be part of it. But I need you to trust me to keep you safe. I do trust you. I just hate that loving you means living with this kind of fear. It won't always be like this. Once I've fully legitimized the family, once the old conflicts are resolved, when will that be? A year? 5 years? Never. We stared at each other across the table. The first real crack in our foundation. I don't have an answer to that, I admitted. I'm doing everything I can to build a safer future. But right now, in this moment, there are still people who see me as an enemy, and you as leverage. I'm sorry. If I could change it, I know you would. I know. He squeezed my hands. I'm just scared. Me too. The meeting with Marco Castellano happened 2 days later, in a private room at a restaurant neither family controlled. I brought Luca. Marco brought his second, a man named Vincent, who'd killed 17 people and enjoyed everyone. Moretti, Marco greeted me with false warmth. Thank you for meeting. Let's skip the pleasantries. You threatened my fiancé. Did I? Those photos could have come from anywhere. With your family seal on the envelope? Don't insult my intelligence. Marco leaned back, smiling. Fine. Yes, I sent them. Consider it a friendly reminder that your new lifestyle has consequences. You're vulnerable now, soft, in love. He said the word like it was a disease. Loving someone doesn't make me weak. It makes me motivated to protect what's mine. I leaned forward. Touch him, and I'll unite every family in this city against you. You're already losing ground, Marco. How long do you think you'll survive when everyone knows you started a war over petty jealousy? His smile faded. Careful, Dante. No. You be careful. I'm trying to build something better. A future where our families profit legally, where we don't send our children to early graves, where we're businessmen instead of criminals. You can either join that future or be left behind. But if you threaten Elias again, there won't be enough of you left to bury. The temperature in the room dropped. Vincent's hand moved toward his jacket. Luca's hand moved faster, producing a gun that somehow appeared on the table. Gentlemen, Luca said mildly, let's keep this civil. Marco studied me for a long moment. You've changed, Moretti. The old Dante would have started shooting already. The old Dante didn't have anything worth living for. This one does. And I will burn down everything and everyone who threatens that. Even yourself. Especially myself, if it keeps him safe. Something shifted in Marco's expression. Not quite respect, but acknowledgement. I'll call off my men. No more threats against your flower boy. Why the change of heart? Because I remember being young and stupid about a woman once. It ended badly, but I understand the impulse to protect what you love. Even if I think you're insane for loving a civilian. He stood. Consider this a one-time courtesy. But Dante, get out of the life completely or don't. This halfway thing you're doing makes you a target. People smell weakness. Let them smell what they want. I know what I'm building. He left. I sat there for another minute, letting adrenaline fade. That went better than expected, Luca observed. It's not over. Marco backed down, but Victor won't. My uncle wants me to fail. Wants the family to return to the old ways. He'll find another way to attack. So what do we do about Victor? We remove him from the equation. Legally, permanently, and publicly. I'm tired of fighting battles on multiple fronts. The security was suffocating. I understood why it was necessary. I appreciated Dante trying to protect me. But having 2 massive bodyguards follow me everywhere, having my movements monitored, Having to check in constantly, it was exhausting. Isabella found me at the flower shop one afternoon, surrounded by arrangements and frustration. "You look like you're contemplating murder via bouquet," she observed. "Is that a thing?" "With the right flowers and sufficient force, probably." She perched on my work table. "Talk to me. I love your brother, more than I've ever loved anyone. But sometimes I wonder if I'm strong enough for this life." Define strong enough. I don't know. Able to handle death threats? Not freaking out when armed men follow me to buy coffee? Actually sleeping at night instead of lying awake imagining worst-case scenarios? Elias, you're handling it better than most people would. The fact that you're still here, still running your business, still planning a wedding, that's strength. It doesn't feel strong. It feels terrifying. Those aren't mutually exclusive. She picked up a white rose, studying it. "Can I tell you something about my brother?" "Please." He spent his entire life convinced he was broken. That love wasn't for people like him. That he was too damaged, or too dangerous, or too much like our father. Then you walked into his life and looked at him like he hung the moon, and suddenly, he had a reason to be better. You're not a weakness, Elias. You're his strength, the thing that makes him want to legitimize the business, to build a safer future, to be worthy of you. I don't want him changing who he is for me. He's not. He's becoming who he always should have been. You just gave him permission to try." She set down the rose. "The threats will end. Victor will be handled. The danger will decrease. But there will always be some risk in loving a Moretti. The question is whether what you get is worth what you risk." I thought about Dante's smile when he thought I wasn't looking. The way he held me during thunderstorms, because he'd noticed they made me anxious. How he'd learned the Latin names of flowers just to surprise me. The steadiness of his presence, the safety of his arms, the future we were building together. "It's worth it," I said quietly. "He's worth it." "Good. Then stop questioning whether you're strong enough and start believing you are." That night, I told Dante we needed to talk. He immediately looked worried, like he'd been expecting this conversation and dreading it. "If you want to leave," he started, but I cut him off with a kiss. "I don't want to leave. I want to move forward. I want to set a wedding date and start planning our life, instead of just surviving the present. I want to stop letting fear dictate everything." "Elias, the threats will always exist in some form. You're a Moretti. I'm marrying you with full awareness of what that means. So yes, we'll be careful. Yes, we'll take precautions. But I refuse to put my life on hold, waiting for perfect safety that will never come." I took his hands. "I want to marry you, Dante. Soon. Not next year or when things calm down. Now. Now. Well, not this second, but soon. 3 months? 3 months," he repeated, then pulled me into his arms. "Yes. God, yes, let's do it." We started planning immediately. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Isabella as maid of honor. Luca as best man. A private garden venue. All white flowers. On minimal fuss, but maximum meaning. My parents agreed to come. It was a huge step. They still didn't fully understand or approve, but they were trying. That was enough. Rebecca sent a gift. A beautiful vase with a note that said, "For your flowers. Wishing you both real happiness. R." I cried reading it. Everything was falling into place. Then, 2 weeks before the wedding, Victor made his move. I should have seen it coming. Victor had been too quiet, too accepting of my leadership transition. I'd mistaken his silence for surrender, when I should have recognized it as planning. The attempt on Elias happened at the flower shop. 3 men, mid-afternoon, during a time when one of his bodyguards was on break and the other was checking the perimeter. They tried to grab him, tried to force him into a van. They didn't account for the self-defense training Isabella had been secretly giving him for months. Elias broke one man's nose, pepper-sprayed another, and was fighting the third when his bodyguard returned and ended the situation. By the time I got there, Elias was sitting on the curb, wrapped in a blanket, shaking but unharmed. While police took statements, I dropped to my knees in front of him. "Are you hurt?" "No." "Shaken. Angry, but not hurt." His hands trembled as he touched my face. Isabella's training paid off. "I'm going to kill Victor." "Dante. He organized this. He's been working against me for months, and now he tried to kidnap you to prove I've gone soft. I'm done being patient. I'm done trying to handle this peacefully." "So what? You're going to murder your uncle and prove him right. Show everyone that you haven't changed, that love does make you violent and reckless." His words hit like a slap. I sat back on my heels. "What do you want me to do? Let him try again?" "No. I want you to be smart, strategic. Everything you've worked for, everything we're building, don't throw it away for revenge." He gripped my shoulders. "Beat him properly. Remove him from power legally. Show the family that your way works better than his." He was right. I hated that he was right, but he was. I called an emergency meeting of the family. Every captain, every made man, everyone with a stake in the Moretti organization. I laid out Victor's betrayal, the threats, the kidnapping attempt, the evidence Luca had compiled of him skimming money and making unauthorized deals with rivals. "Victor believes I've made us weak," I told the assembled men. "He thinks caring about someone outside our world is a liability. He thinks going legitimate means losing our power." I paused. "He's wrong on all counts. Since I took over leadership and started this transition, our profits are up 40%. Our legal exposure is down 60%. We have politicians and business leaders who want to work with us instead of investigating us. We are building something sustainable." "But you're still being attacked," one of the older captains said. "Still dealing with threats. That doesn't sound stronger." "Every change faces resistance. Victor represents the old guard, the men who profited from keeping us in the shadows. But that world is ending. Law enforcement is smarter. Technology makes hidden crimes harder. The families who don't adapt will be destroyed. I'm offering us survival and legitimacy." I pulled out the evidence of Victor's betrayal. He's been stealing from you, from all of you, using family resources for personal vendettas, putting us at risk of war with the Castellanos. And when I tried to handle it quietly, he attacked the man I love to prove I'm weak. I looked around the room. "So here's the choice. Vote Victor out, support our transition to legitimate business and be part of something sustainable, or side with him, return to the old ways, and wait for the FBI to destroy us all." The vote wasn't even close. Victor was out, stripped of his position, his money, his power, exiled from the family entirely. When I told Elias that night, he asked, "Do you feel better?" "No, I feel like I just amputated a diseased limb. Necessary, but painful." Will he accept it? Will he just go away? He doesn't have a choice. The family has spoken. If he comes back, if he tries anything else, they'll handle him for me. I pulled Elias close. "It's over. You're safe. We can move forward. 2 weeks until the wedding. 2 weeks until I make you legally mine." "Legally yours?" He laughed. "How romantic. How about 2 weeks until I vow before everyone we care about that you're my heart, my home, and my future. Better, much better. Our wedding day dawned clear and beautiful. I stood in a private room at the garden venue, adjusting my cream-colored suit for the 100th time. It wasn't white. I'd worn white for the wedding that didn't happen. This time, I chose cream and gold. Something new, something that represented this different path. Isabella bustled in, gorgeous in her burgundy dress. "You clean up nice, future brother-in-law." "I'm terrified." "Good terrified or bad terrified?" "Good. Excited. Ready." I took a breath. "Your brother is the love of my life, Isabella." I know that sounds dramatic for someone I've only known a year, but it's true. He makes me want to be braver, more honest, more myself. He feels the same about you. I've never seen him this happy. She adjusted my boutonniere. White orchids, of course. "You ready to do this?" More than ready. The ceremony was small. 30 people, all of whom genuinely supported us. My parents in the front row, my mother crying, my father's expression still uncertain but softening. Dante's family, his business associates, the friends we'd made together. And there, at the end of the white rose-lined aisle, stood Dante. He wore all black, of course he did, and he looked at me like I was the only person in the world. I walked toward him, no one giving me away because I was giving myself freely. When I reached him, he took my hands, and I saw tears in his eyes. "You came," he whispered. "I'll always come back to you." The officiant began, but I barely heard her. I was too focused on Dante, on this moment, on the impossible journey that had led us here. When it was time for vows, Dante went first. "Elias, 1 year ago, you were a stranger arranging flowers in my ballroom. You looked at me without fear, spoke to me with honesty, and somehow saw past everything I'd built to protect myself. You made me believe I could be more than my father's legacy. You gave me a reason to build something better." His voice caught. "I promise to love you fiercely and faithfully, to protect what we're building without losing who I'm becoming, to fill our home with flowers and laughter, to be worthy of the trust you placed in me when you chose truth over safety. You are my redemption, my joy, and my home. I will love you until my last breath and beyond." I was already crying. Isabella handed me a tissue. "Dante," I began, my voice shaking. "You told me once that I wore white for someone else, but that I'd wear nothing but honesty for you. You were right. With you, I learned to shed every pretense, every fear, every version of myself that wasn't true. You taught me that love isn't safe or simple. It's brave and complicated, and worth every risk." I squeezed his hands. "I promise to be your peace in the chaos, to remind you why we're building this future, when the past tries to pull you back, to choose you every day, not because it's easy, but because it's right. You are my unexpected gift, my greatest adventure, and my truest love. I will stand beside you, through everything, always." The officiant pronounced us married. Dante pulled me into a kiss that tasted like tears, and triumph, and forever. Our guests erupted in applause. The reception was joyful. Isabella's toast made everyone cry and laugh. Luca's toast was surprisingly heartfelt. My mother hugged Dante and told him to take care of her son. My father shook his hand and said, "Make him happy?" "Every day," Dante promised. As we danced our first dance under the stars, surrounded by white flowers and the people who loved us, I thought about the journey here, the wedding I'd stopped, the life I'd abandoned, the terror and joy of choosing authenticity. "What are you thinking?" Dante asked. "That I'd do it all again, every scary moment, every difficult choice. All of it was worth it to end up here, We're going to be happy, really truly happy. I know, even when things get complicated. Especially then. He spun me, and I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. 1 year later, we adopted Marcus, a 16-year-old from a difficult background who reminded Dante of himself. 6 months after that, we opened a community center in one of the neighborhoods the Moretti family had once exploited, offering job training and support services. The business continued transitioning, slowly, carefully, but successfully. My relationship with my parents improved. They'd never fully understand, but they loved me, and that was enough. Rebecca sent a wedding announcement. She'd met someone new, a woman who made her laugh. I sent flowers and a card, to new beginnings and honest hearts. Dante and I built a life that was messy and beautiful, and completely ours. We fought sometimes. We disagreed about how to handle family politics and business decisions and whether Marcus should be allowed to date yet. But we never stopped choosing each other. 5 years after our wedding, I found Dante in our garden, surrounded by the white orchids he'd planted for me. "What are you doing out here?" "Thinking about the night we met, how I almost let you walk away, how close I came to never knowing what this feels like." I sat beside him. "What does it feel like?" "Like I finally found what I was looking for, even though I didn't know I was searching." He pulled me close. "Like home." "Yeah," I agreed, resting my head on his shoulder. "Like home." We sat there as the sun set, surrounded by flowers and memories, and the future we'd built from the ashes of the lives we'd left behind. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose love over safety. Sometimes the greatest gift is finding someone who sees you, really sees you, and loves what they find. And sometimes the life you didn't plan is exactly the life you needed. We chose each other. We chose honesty. We chose love. And we'd choose it again, every single day, for the rest of our lives. Did Dante and Elias's journey move you? If this story of courage, transformation, and finding love against all odds resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts. Have you ever had to choose between what's safe and what's true? What moment in their story spoke to you the most? Do you believe in love that changes everything? Leave a comment below sharing your favorite moment from the story. A message for anyone struggling to live their truth. Your own story of choosing authenticity over expectation. And if you'd like to see more stories like this, tales of brave hearts, unexpected love, and the courage to rebuild your life, subscribe for updates on new releases, because everyone deserves a love story where they can be completely, authentically themselves. Thank you for reading. May you always have the courage to choose truth, and may you find someone who makes that choice feel like coming home.